Welcome one more time, everyone, to a Free Electrons webinar. We are very happy to host this session for you. And during the next hour, we would like to present you to the program, to this opportunity, and make sure that you know about all of the great benefits that the program is offering you. Today's webinar is hosted by ESB and T-HUB, Free Electrons ecosystem partner. And we, apart from presenting you to all the details of the program, we would like to as well welcome to the discussion two guests, Puneet Jaggi, who is the founder of Prescinto Technologies, one of our alumni and Free Electrons alumni, as well as Mr. Phani Kondepudi, which is the CDO of T-HUB, that will also share his perspective on bringing the opportunities for startups in the Indian market. I will stop sharing my screen right now and also would like to welcome Ratna from ESB team to present us better to the program. Ratna, the stage is yours.
Morning, everyone. Good afternoon in India. Martina, how are we with the, are we okay to start now, or do we give?
We can start now. It's okay, let's go. Yes.
I'm going to share my screen.
Also, so our guests are already here. Good.
Can you see my screen?
Yes,
there?
we can see your screen.
Fantastic.
Slides. Perfect.
Okay. So good afternoon in India and good morning in Europe. Welcome to this webinar on the Free Electrons program. I'm an Indian myself, and I'm very proud to see that India is an emerging global leader in the energy innovation. According to the stats, we have over 10,000 energy startups, which have an incredible opportunity to drive the impact in the energy sector. Today, we're going to explore how Free Electron connects startups with global utilities, helping them scale their ideas and make a lasting impact in the energy landscape. So without further ado, let's just dive in. Let me see. Okay. So Free Electrons, most of you would have heard it, but if you haven't, it is the world's largest open innovation program in the energy sector, connecting startups with 7 global utility giants. And our mission is to bring disruptive energy innovations to life and to help startups scale while solving critical challenges. Free Electrons itself was a startup 8 years ago. In just over 8 editions, Free Electrons has reached over 90 markets. We have supported over 100 startup alumni. And I think bigger than that is we have executed over 200 pilots. Now, these numbers prove that our program is not just global in scope, but deeply impactful in driving the energy innovation. Now, again, you're going to hear from our speakers soon, but Free Electrons isn't just about connections. It delivers results as well. Startups have benefited from over 15 million in pilots, 67 million in deployments, and 36 million in direct funding. Now, altogether, the program has generated over 100 million in value, which is a clear indicator of its real impact. I mentioned that it's a collaboration of global utility partners, including industry leaders from ESB from Ireland. I'm from ESB, of course. EDP from Portugal. EDP also have presence in South America and North America. E.ON from Germany, but they also have presence in the UK, European American markets. Hydro-Quebec from Canada and JERA from Japan. All these utilities put together bring unmatched expertise and resources to the table. Now, together, obviously, they represent a global reach and ensure startups access markets and opportunities worldwide. So how does this program work? We start with an open call, which is open right now, and startups can apply till January 24th via F6S platform or T-HUB platform. Utilities will review every single application that we receive as part of this process to select top 60 startups for the virtual pitch event. Now, this is a very transparent, collaborative process to make sure that promising innovators, entrepreneurs, and startups advance to the next stage. The first module after the application phase is a virtual pitch event, which is between March 10th and 14th, where utilities screen, shortlist, and select top 60 startups to present their innovations, propositions to the utilities. Now, this is a very critical moment for all the startup companies in order to secure a spot in the program, with 30 startups advancing to the next phase. And this is all about making sure that you get your proposition and make your mark with the utilities. Following the pitch event, as I mentioned, that 30 startups go on to the next module, which is called the bootcamp module. Now we call it as a piñata session, which is an in-person module this year. Our utility partner, Origin Energy, are hosting in Sydney. Now this is a full day, 4 full day, fully funded opportunity for the startups to meet the utilities in person. So this will be the first module where startups will have an opportunity to meet the business experts, meet the innovation experts in person through one-to-one meetings. So startups and utilities will explore what are the pilot collaboration opportunities, get to design pilot projects, understand your business model. And towards the end of the module, towards the end of the 4th day, only 15 startups will move forward to the program itself. Now, there are times when startups from the bootcamp module also get to actually work with the utility companies, but 15 go on to the program, which is the main program. The next phase of this program is called the master module. This year, again, master module is being hosted by CLP in Hong Kong from 7th July until 10th July. This is the module where startups will refine their pilot projects with utilities and the business experts. They dive deeper into the scope, into the business requirements, and make sure that you align with what the challenges are with the utilities, align with the business requirements. Now, this phase ensures that the pilots are practical, they're ready to create a real impact for the utility companies, and also setting the stage for successful deployments. This is where your real deal is. Another point to make here is that in between these modules, between the virtual pitch event, between the bootcamp, and also between the master modules, utilities have a lot of bilateral online sessions with the startup companies to tease out the details of the pilot project. So it doesn't mean that once the bootcamp ends and you have to wait until the master module. In between, there's a lot of work that goes on. Now, if the startups are in the region, in the particular city, you can have in-person sessions as well, but mostly these are virtual sessions because the utilities are global. And yeah, to make sure that the pilot details are correctly scoped and you get an opportunity to work with the business directly. Now, following the master module, in October, we have a grand finale. This year, ESB is hosting the grand finale in Dublin from 13th October to 16th October. Now, this is really the end of the program, towards the end of the marking the culmination of the program. By this stage, many pilots have been signed or agreed, and others are in the phase of getting final negotiations. Now, as part of the grand finale, ESB is hosting an Open Innovation Day, where a broader ecosystem has an opportunity to meet the startups, to meet the VCs, and meet potential partners, creating new growth opportunities. So the grand finale and the Open Innovation Day will be towards the end of the program. Right. I'm going to pause here because we do have 2 of our guest speakers who are going to join us to share their insights. We have, as Martina mentioned, we have Puneet Jaggi, who is the CEO and co-founder of Prescinto, which has now been acquired by IBM. But we also have Phani Kondepudi, who is the Chief Delivery Officer from T-HUB. So I'm going to stop my slides here and just bring in Puneet and Phani. Do we have Puneet online? Or Puneet? Yes.
Hi, Puneet is with us.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Sorry, can you
hi,
hear
Puneet,
us?
how are you? Hi,
Very
Ratna, how are you?
Very, very good, sir. Thank you so much for having me here, Ratna and team. Extremely excited.
Fantastic. Puneet, as I mentioned, that Puneet is I can say ex-CEO now of Prescinto. Puneet is an alumnus of 2021 Free Electrons program. Now that was a different time, COVID times, but his journey is a testament to the transformative impact of Free Electrons. And obviously this year we have collaborated with T-HUB, world's largest innovation center. And the intention is to expand Free Electrons program reach in India, ensuring that the Indian startups can access this incredible platform. So welcome you both. Puneet, if you don't mind, I'll probably start with you very quickly. Sorry.
I'm able to hear you well. Thank you so much, Ratna, and thank you for the welcome. If I may, Free Electrons kind of unlocked a whole new world of possibilities for us. So when Ratna and John reached out about sharing whatever little I have to share with everybody, I couldn't miss this chance. It's everybody who's there on the call. I'm sure some of you are going to be unicorns, some of you are going to be huge. Just remember that one of these days, sometime 2 years, 3 years down the line, you'll have to come back and address an audience like this.
That's fantastic, Puneet. Puneet, can you share maybe your experience participate in the Free Electrons program? Now, I know back in the COVID days, it was very different, but what attracted you to the program, and did you have any expectations when you were applying for the program, and do you think the program actually met your expectations?
I'll be as candid and honest as possible. There's a famous Steve Jobs speech which talks about connecting dots in retrospect. So when I look at the journey today that we were fortunate to undertake with Free Electrons and everything that happened after that, I'm able to draw a straight line to an exit by selling to the world's largest B2B software company. From the point where we started, and Free Electrons was one of the first platforms that we were exposed on. So there's a straight line between that. I don't think I was nearly as wise at the time to know that this outcome will be there 3 years down the line. So did we know that this is going to happen? No, but did Free Electrons play a huge role in making it happen? I do believe that that's 100% yes. And I know that there's very likely going to be a question on it going forward. But to everybody who's listening, whether that in India or globally, utilities are extremely, extremely, extremely tough accounts. I mean, Ratna and John and all the people on the call, they are extremely good and great and warm and gracious people. But utilities are incredibly tough accounts to crack. And if any of you is building a business which is one day going to sell to a utility, you will realize it, hopefully not the hard way, that it is going to take you years, months, if not years, to be able to sell to them. It's going to take months, if not years, to understand to the true problem statement. It's going to take months, if not years, to get to the right decision maker. And Free Electrons kind of short-circuited that entire path for us, reducing that 18-month to probably 1.5 month, right? And that's the platform that we were able to take advantage of. So in a rounded way, I think I'm trying to say that I'm thankful for the platform, and yes, that had a huge part in ultimately the exit of Prescinto as well.
That's really fantastic to hear. Just looking back, I know, how do you think Free Electrons helped Prescinto as a startup to grow or position itself in the energy market? I know that, Prescinto got an opportunity to work with CLP and you've had deployments, but when you look back, were there any specific turning points that were enabled by the program to Prescinto?
So I think one of the good points that happened with free electrons, and I think that for me, that's why the program stands out more than the others, is that at every stage of the process, there was a round of very active feedback involved. Every time we were getting on the calls with utilities and every time we were progressing forward, there was very good constructive feedback that we were receiving. And that, of course, told us a lot about how to work with utilities, but it also led to a better chance of a successful pilot, which can lead ultimately to a contract. And I think I mentioned this separately to you that the pilot that we concluded back then, which was like close to 2.5, 3 years back, led to a customer account closure last quarter for us. Right. So that, I mean, CLP in India is now a customer with all of their assets on Prescinto's platform. So the constructive feedback which was involved helped us to understand that how do we get prepared to pitch to a utility? What is the hierarchy that we need to go through in order to be able to make ourselves effective? How much time will they be actually able to give us, and within which what kind of value do we need to be able to prove? Interesting elements. It also exposed us to some interesting new positive realities. For example, utilities are willing to pay for pilots, right?
Yes.
Particularly in India, but I'm sure in other parts of the world also. I'm sure a lot of startups are extremely scared of doing pilots with large organizations because anybody would think that it's a huge sink of resources and we don't even know what is our chances of getting through. But interestingly, utilities in the free electrons program and otherwise also you'll realize are willing to pay for pilots, which was an amazing realization for us to get. Another interesting realization was for us that the utilities, at least in the free electrons program, when we were getting feedback, they were like, okay, your product may not work for us, but I know this other utility and a friend at this other place within free electrons program itself for whom it will work out better. So let me just connect those dots for you and see where you land. Right. So you would imagine that, okay, we do not get that kind of, I mean, maybe one utility, another utility. At the end of the day, everybody's competition. Maybe the innovation will get stuck to the people that you pitch, but that doesn't happen. There's an incredible atmosphere of collaboration that we saw at Free Electrons, and I think these finer aspects all kind of added up in layers finally to make it an extremely successful thing. And I would say definitely for people in India, but actually probably it's true across the world also. It's not only about the utilities. There are going to be tens of startups who are going to be alongside you in the same program, in the same stages. Unfortunately, I'm a COVID baby when it comes to free electrons. We did not get to meet anybody in person. Our entire program was online. But nevertheless, the kind of camaraderie that we ended up developing by the end of the program was quite phenomenal. And that also gives you an amazing insight. So I had to understand that, okay, how much do I need to pay a guy in sales to be hired in Spain? Well, guess what? The startups who were doing that did help me out, right? So it was not only about the utilities, but also about the startups that we were able to get a lot of leverage.
That's fantastic, Puneet. I think you've highlighted like 3 key points there. The first one is that these are paid pilots, so startups, as you mentioned, we've been in discussion with a couple of utilities in India, and they were quite surprised that startups actually do get paid for the pilots, so I'm glad that you highlighted that, we're not looking for free labor here, these are paid pilots. And the other one that you highlighted is that, it's not just between utilities and startups, but startups collaborate with startups as well, and we've had it as part of the program where startups collaboration created new opportunities for themselves. So in addition to working with the utilities, but startups actually end up collaborating with startups and identify new market opportunities. So thanks for highlighting that. And huge congratulations on being acquired by IBM. I'm sure you're one of the most happiest man, to be there. What do you think are the main factors that position Prescinto for such a milestone? And do you think FE had any role to play in this journey?
So I think there was I think
we don't want to take the
99%.
credit now, obviously.
No. Okay, let me put it this way. I think 50% of that is luck. Like we were lucky that IBM did not have a renewable energy suite, although renewable energy is the fastest growing energy source that is there today. We were lucky that we were just the right size, not too expensive, not too cheap. We were expensive enough to be taken seriously, but not so expensive to rule us out as an acquisition target. We are very lucky that Southeast Asia and India are strategic priorities of IBM going forward. So I didn't have any role to play in that, and I think I can say that free electrons, unless you have got some amazing monks in the back end doing prayers for your startups, I don't think that free electrons had a role in that. But what did happen is that one of the things that attracted IBM to Prescinto was the positive references that we were able to generate all across the world. We wanted to see that the product works. And the product will be able to work in the kind of customers that they are serving, right? And they serve utilities, right? So, I mean, and IBM is probably where I think it'll be the dream house of most B2B software exits, right? If you're good and if you're doing very well for yourselves, one day you can imagine that IBM will come in and acquire. I mean, Godspeed if you are the next IBM. But for most of us, I think IBM is going to be a great house, right? So they are going to look for factors like, are you able to crack into logos that they already have? You have technology which is already proven, and there are customer testimonials to help you validate the effect of that. Have you competed at a global stage and won against a few larger competitors also, right? And with the platform that we got in Free Electrons, at least in part, what we did at Free Electrons went in a way to prepare us to win those accounts, but also to give that exposure. I mean, I won't lie that on my deck, I had Free Electrons for a very, very long time because that was my only touch point in the global utility market. I had some Indian utility customers, but I did not have any global utility customers for a good 1 or 2 years. So for a very, very long time, we used to begin and end our slides with Free Electrons and then add all the utility logos to Free Electrons saying that, you see, we were in Free Electrons program and these were all the utilities, you can connect the dots, right? So we did take some credit and attention that way of the program. But in terms of whether that be able to win utility logos, compete with other companies to get those utility logos, or simply getting through the rigor of scoring a utility account, all of this in part also happened with the prep that we had at Free Electrons, and that made us attractive, honestly, to IBM as well. I mean, to put things in context, maybe there are two elements that I'll put in context. IBM has a 50% market share in US and maybe in other parts of the world as well when it comes to the energy and utility business. So every alternate utility in the world practically works on IBM, right? So if you have utilities, if you're targeting utilities as a customer and you have a few of them, that's a huge, huge plus and a huge attraction for somebody like an IBM, right? So that was one element. And second, they have got a team of 23,000 sellers all across the world peddling their software, right? So what they're looking for is proof points. When it comes to distribution, they already have the distribution pipeline well made. So what they're looking for is proof point that, okay, you know how to sell and you know how to score, and you have got 1 year of history of getting that utility revenue. If you're able to prove it out, they'll be extremely, extremely interested.
That's fantastic. Hope all the startups that are online are listening to you very carefully on this message. Just to kind of lead into the next question. So based on all of this, what do you think? What advice can you give to our startups who are looking to enter the Free Electrons program and looking to maximize the opportunities, and as you said, for Prescinto to prepare for a global scale?
So I think I don't think that I have a
magic mantra,
a magic wand answer to this question, but off the top of my mind, I think I'll say two things. One, please take this seriously, right? Very often, many people, and we participate in all of these, and there are incubator competitions and accelerator competitions, and there'll be government grants and God knows what all. right? So very often we get busy and we just treat this as one of those. I have participated in a few of those. I have left most of them in the first phase of the competition itself. Free electrons was different. And the reason why it was different is that, I mean, maybe you'll get funded out of the program also, which is a great outcome to have. But every dollar of revenue that you are able to get from utilities is worth $100 of funding that you will ever be able to take. This will be the doorway to be able to get funded. This will be the doorway for other utilities to get interested. This will be the doorway for a future exit at one point of time selling to somebody like IBM. Right. So do not take any of the steps lightly. Be well prepared when you go to utility. Be respectful of their time. There are some very senior folks who are making time to hear to the mistakes that we are making as well. Right. So please take this extremely seriously. And the other advice is exactly counterproductive, exactly counter to my first advice. Please have a lot of fun while you're doing this. You will see that utilities are not these stodgy old people in black and gray suits and ties. They are not all white-haired. They are a lot of fun, guys. I have only heard stories. Again, I couldn't do it in person. I've only heard stories about how many kegs of beers got over at the Free Electrons party, right? So I am telling you, you're going to have an amazing time building new relationships in addition to probably scoring a few pilots and taking your startups to the next level.
So you're saying that we work hard, but we also party hard.
Oh, yes, that would have been a shit. I should have said that. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Thanks, Puneet. I'm conscious that I'm actually keeping Phani waiting here. Phani, if I can bring you into the picture here. Thank you very much again, for joining this. So T-HUB, we're in partnership with T-HUB at the moment, try and reach the Indian market. T-HUB has been instrumental in fostering innovation in India and globally. You are one of the largest innovation centers in the world. How do you think your partnership with Free Electrons can enable the Indian startups access the international markets and the ecosystems?
Sure. Thanks, Ratna, for having us. This partnership with Free Electron is always very critical for us. See, there's no partnership that we undermine or we look at as of greater value than the other, because we look at it as how can we enable and empower startups to become successful and be relevant to their customers, and how can they become profitable as business owners and become viable as quickly as possible. And we don't necessarily measure success or impact as whether they've got funded or not. And I think what Free Electron is rightly doing is connecting the first great order. I think the first pilot or the first purchase order is probably the most important aspect in any startup's journey. And that's something that really is the inflection for their success. And everything else is just the preparatory or the groundwork for them. So when it comes to T-HUB and the relationship that we are building with Free Electron, a couple of things that do emerge from here. One is Indian startups who try to understand how to be relevant to the utility space within India can now think about how do they really become relevant to the outside world from international standards and benchmarks. They will probably have a very great opportunity to interact with other founders and other companies and learn from their problem statements so that they can go and build world-class solutions. And very importantly, I think any collaboration is a two-way street, and we hope that your journey will also come to the doorsteps of T-HUB and bring your startups here, so that we can also probably provide you immersive experiences on utilities market space within the Indian ecosystem as well. So I think it's a great partnership to start with. I know that this is the first time we're working with you guys, but so far it all looks great, and I think we look forward to making sure that our startups get up there.
That's great introduction there, Phani. Thank you. Maybe just as a leading question from there, how do you see T-HUB bridging this gap between the startups and the utilities, and what do you think would be the unique value that T-HUB wants to bring to this collaboration?
So we do have several partnerships with large global players in the utility sector. We work very closely with them, and we do have several different types of engagements to start with. I'll give you two classic methodologies that we work with. One, we drive internal innovation for such companies because they know their problems better than anyone else. And it makes the life of a startup a little more easier to go solve their problems and become part of their ecosystem very quickly. So we work with utilities companies and where they share problem statements, and we build cohorts and actually could get them solved by startups and make them relevant directly into their horizon. So whether it's on the H1, H2, H3 horizons, it depends on the organization's readiness and the startup's ability to go build these great solutions quickly. And if they're already built one, they quickly get into the purchase order lifeline, very quickly. That's something that we do very well. And the second one is what we call open innovation. Just what you folks do is get startups into a program with the very broad areas and sector specific challenges, bring them into a cohort and see how we map them to corporates that may be interested in working or acquiring or even collaborating with such startups. So we do different models, but pretty much more like what you do, except for that we don't call them competitions. Where we have these programmatic engagements, and we do a lot of breadth engagements as well. So we're talking about a huge number of startups that come in and graduate out of the program year on year. And we have several such programs to start with. But this is typically what we work and how we work. And the utilities roadmap is a very large and important roadmap that includes, for us, it includes a little bit of sustainability as well, which comes into the picture. So we do have several engagements in that space, and on a continual basis at any given point of time, you will find one or two cohorts running on our premises in this space with more than one corporate engaged.
Thanks again, Phani. I've been to T-HUB and I've actually seen that live in action. So for startups who are part of this, are looking to participate in the program, and also obviously, aspiring to scale internationally, what support or key resources T-HUB can provide to ensure that their success on a global platform like Free Electrons?
Great. Actually, to start with, I think the most valuable partnership comes in terms of market access and immersive experiences for startups who've never done business on an international platform to start with, right? So I think this is where Free Electron plays a very, very pivotal role. And I think it does a great job in doing exactly what's required to be done for the success of a startup. Now, what T-HUB does is getting folks like you onto the platform to help startups work very closely with such competitions and platforms. In addition to which, we also have a large mentor community and that consists of subject matter experts and industry stalwarts who actually volunteer the time in large numbers, actually, and who actually spend as a bare given about 10 to 12 hours a month with us. And these really accelerate the success of startups significantly. In addition to which, we also have other programmatic engagements that helps actually not just sustain their interest, but also accelerates their getting them to the market quickly with relevance, as well as we work with a large ecosystem of investors as well, both organized and disorganized. That actually helps the startups take different routes that suits best for them, because that not one shoe necessarily does not fit all sizes. So each startup builds their own journey, and these experiences actually give them access to markets, access to mentors, access to the funding desks that we have put together. And all these collaborations come in different forms and sizes, and they fall into one of these buckets that the startup can actually access successfully.
That's fantastic. Maybe if I can bring Puneet back, for one last question between the two of you. As a Free Electrons alumni and also as a key partner to expand our reach in India, one advice that you can give to the entrepreneurs that are looking to make a global impact?
I'll give it to Phani first. I have got an answer which is
It's time to party. Let's he's worried now. When are you going to get to Hyderabad? The tickets are not expensive, man. Take your EV and get your company here. That's important. So I think we really need to spend time with all you folks. I'm excited to meet you, Puneet. But the one advice that I always give any startup, irrespective, right? It's not about getting funded. It's really not about all the big whistles that you hear. The most important thing is, are you making money? And are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? Are you focused, right? If you do these three right, everything falls into place. But if you start with the wrong starting point, it will take you to the wrong end. So I think very important, think like a business person, get your customers in place, understand your customers well, make sure that they are happy customers, make sure you're making money, and make sure that your roadmap that you've built aligns with the larger vision that if at all, you've not built one, go build one now and stay focused. I think if these are the golden rules that I encourage any startup to follow, and these are very simple though.
Awesome. Thanks, Phani. I guess more on the same lines, but more specific to software and SaaS startups that are building. See, in any business, in any field of software SaaS that you take up, whether you take it HR software, you take it CRM, you take it energy focused software, anything, you'll see that the large number of hugely successful startups that are there have targeted global markets and have not focused on India markets alone, right? And there's a reason for that. The reason for that is that in India, the treatment of SaaS is comparing software with the cost of labor and saying that, okay, why should I pay software so much when I can employ 2 people for the same cost, right? But in the US, for example, the entire country spends $3 trillion in software alone, right? And that $3 trillion is almost equal to the size of Indian GDP, right? So having to make use of access to global utilities and access to global market is probably going to be the largest pitch point that Electrons can wield in order to get a ton of startups interested. Because as far as at least SaaS revenue is concerned, I can actually count on my fingers the number of startups who have come from India and focused only on the Indian market and still become unicorns, right? If you really want to do great work in unicorns, if you look at anything from Whatwix to InnoFacer to all of these great startup stories that we have heard from India in the SaaS software space, most of them have focused on the global market and not on India market alone. And to that effect, this is a great platform. But that was the sane advice. The insane advice is going to be that I would love to send across a huge banner that you can fly outside of the aeroplane. Puneet Jaggi endorses free electrons, and hopefully that can at least get my family interested.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. That was truly inspiring, including the last bit, Puneet and Phani. Thank you for sharing your insights and experiences. I think your perspective definitely has shed light on the immense opportunities that Free Electrons offer to the startups, the energy startups, including from global collaboration to achieving significant milestone successes like being acquired by IBM. Thank you very much. Thank you both. Are we doing on time, Martina? If I want to continue the remaining.
Yes, sure, Ratna. Just let's go over our last points, and soon we will get to a Q&A for everyone.
Okay, so just in terms of building from what Puneet and Phani have shared about the benefits of the Free Electrons program, it's important for the startups to develop pilots, with the utilities, gain access to subject matter experts. And of course, as Puneet highlighted so many times, that, it's about building relationships that last for a long time. In addition to all of that, of course, for startups, they also gain global visibility, credibility, and opportunities to scale their solutions. Let me see. Okay, so obviously it's time now to encourage the startups that are online or will get to listen to this webinar post this session that don't miss the opportunity to submit your applications by 24th, which is the closing date. We have 2 platforms at the moment, F6S or T-HUB platform. This is your gateway to scaling your innovations globally. So make sure that you have this opportunity to apply to the program. and reach out to any one of us if you have any questions, either on LinkedIn, or if you have contact details. So few tips in terms of applying for the program as part of the application process. Make sure that you're being very, very specific about your proposition, what your technology, what your solution is. Sometimes being simple is powerful. Don't confuse, in terms of trying to include too much about it. Research, as Puneet said, number of times, that research about the utilities thoroughly. It's very important that you understand. Most of the challenges are very similar for the utilities, so do research about the utilities and what their pain points are, which we've actually put up on the website, so you can go through the decks about each of the utility and what the challenges that we're facing. Make sure that you align your solution to their needs. Highlight that you're adaptable, and at the same time you can scale. And of course, leverage on any of your past successes. Bring the stories to the forefront. Tell us about who your references are, what your client stories are, what your use cases are, to maximize your chances. So very simple, be very specific, and try and make the most of the information that you have in presenting to the utilities. Okay, so I don't know how many startups we have online, but do we have time to open for questions? I can stop sharing my screen here and hand it over back to Martina for fielding any questions.
Thank you very much, Ratna. Thank you, Puneet. Thank you, Phani, for all the sharing. It was great to hear your story and your perspective. And right now, we would like to take this last 10 minutes opening up for your questions from startups that are with us and participants. Please feel free to either write your question in the chat, or just unmute yourself and speak up, whether it's a question related to the application process, you are in doubt about the links, where to go, how to fill out the application form. We are here to help you with that. But also take this opportunity that we have here also team from utility from ESB. We also have our partner T-HUB. Puneet is still with us as somebody that went through the process. So I think you are absolutely in the best place to ask any questions you had. So is there any question anybody would like to start?
Really, because for the last we've run 8 years of Free Electrons. We've run a module in India. We have a partner, fantastic partner, T-HUB, and we have a case study which is an exemplar selling to Big Blue. Congratulations to Prescinto and Puneet. But we're a little bit surprised. The Indian market is huge and growing massively, and a lot of the startups are focused exclusively on the Indian market. But for to benefit from our program and to benefit our utility, the Germans, the Portuguese, the Canadians, we're really we're looking at the export market really, and that's probably daunting for a company that's only worked in India. And I was trying to wonder, do you have any advice, Puneet, or maybe even from the T-HUB side as well? What's the first step energy tech startups in India need to take if they're considering trying to break into the huge global markets of Europe, North America, or other parts of Australia, Japan, etc.?
So I'll give a very specific advice, and this is actually something that I felt the lessons very, very deeply. There are 3 things that I would want to share. One, whoever is the main founder, please move to the main market that you have. If you think, and sorry, I have to say that my advice is colored. My advice is colored by, number one, selling only to enterprise customers. So my typical contract value was anywhere from $100,000 to $500,000, sometimes $1 million also, right? So if you're selling a $10 per day product to or $10 per month product to an individual, maybe this advice is not for you. But since we are talking to utilities, I'm assuming most of the startups are interested in working with enterprises and utilities, and which is the market that I was serving, and I can talk a little intelligently about. So number one, whichever market you decide, is it US, is it Europe, is it elsewhere, please, the co-founder level person has to be in that market, physically sitting next to the customers. It's extremely difficult to do everything online. You need to do 10 times more effort to be able to do this online. Even if you are able to do it online, you will not be able to fully appreciate the context and nuances of the customer. In the US, every time that you'll start a call, you'll talk about the weather first and foremost, because weather is such a big part of Americans' lives, right? Whereas you don't do that in India, right? Nuances like that make you a culture misfit over there. Otherwise, when you're talking to large enterprise customers, so somebody has to be there physically. The second advice that I would say, do not open all markets all at once. These are all mistakes that I did. I did not move to my core market. I opened all markets at once. I had somebody selling for me in the US, a sales team member in Europe, a sales team member, two sales team members in Latin America, and one for the APAC region. What happens is that it has a great drain on your resources, because you have to optimize the product, you have to optimize the go-to-market motion, you have to optimize the customer success motion for each and every individual market, and the physical toll that will take to just be able to serve all time zones together. Right? So it's an incredibly difficult thing to do. Please open one market at a time. Do not go all markets like me. I had done one. I mean, again, I was incredibly lucky that we had an acquirer like IBM, which was willing to pay premium, or which was willing to appreciate the fact that we have got sales presence in all across the world, because they have sales presence in all across the world. But I mean, you have to be incredibly lucky to get that kind of an outcome. I think in hindsight, it was a mistake. And probably the third advice I would want to give for all the startups competing here is that, and this is slightly counterproductive, not counterproductive, counterintuitive, is that when you hire sales team members abroad, right, particularly a lot of people in India are very considerate on the ramp-up time that it takes for a sales team member to be able to start selling effectively, right? In markets like US, and I keep on giving example of US because I know that market the most intimately, but I'm sure this applies to other geographies as well. The guys are going to be super costly, right? If you are going to have a senior sales guy is going to cost you to the tune of $200,000 or close to about 2 crore rupees a year. If the person is not productive in 3 months time period, please give him 15-day notice, get out, get a new one. And I can guarantee you that you will at least have to recycle through 2 or 3 sales agents to get the right guy who is able to sell your software to a utility or to somebody, to an enterprise logo, right? These are all mistakes that we did. I opened up all geographies at once. I did not move to my core market. And I waited close to a year to fire my first guy, close to 18 months to fire my second guy. And the third guy ultimately was extremely successful, but by that time IBM acquired. Right. So these would be very 3 specific inputs to Indian startups looking to work for geographies outside of India.
Fantastic advice I could feel the scars on your back from the learning. So thank you for sharing those so that other people can learn from your challenges, let's say. Thank you so much, Puneet.
Thank you.
CDO of T-HUB have a channel for helping the startups to export as well.
Yes, sir, this is Krishna. That's where I come in. My name is Krishna. I work with the International Programs Department, and we are the ones responsible for channeling startups that are interested to go abroad. And of course, the other way is also true, startups that are interested to come into India. So, yes.
Good. Okay, thank you. Thank you also, Krishna, for adding that. Thank you, Puneet, for all these advices, and also looking at the time. We're really leaning towards the end of our time. Just for all of the participants here, please know that right after this webinar, you are going to receive a follow-up email from us with the recordings, but as well, I would like to just tell you that we've prepared a special gift for you. So today, after our call with this email, you are going to receive a special ebook, including some tips how to make sure that your application is done right. And please know that within that email, if you have any questions, would like to know more, please get in touch with us. We'll be happy to assist you. And that's everything we prepared for today. Thank you very much for participation, for our guest speakers, and Ratna, thank you very much for hosting the webinar today. We are still some 2 weeks to go for the application, so don't wait until the last moment. Fill out your applications, and we hope to see you in the program soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Have a good weekend ahead. Let's be in touch. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.